welcome everyone. Today's session, we're going to talk about how Patch My PC loves PSAppDeploy Toolkit, or PSADT. Hopefully you guys have all heard of PSADT. Just a quick show of hands, who has used it before? That's pretty good. Who has used Patch My PC or knows who Patch My PC are? Okay, that's almost exactly the same. So today, we all work for Patch My PC, but we're not really talking about Patch today. We're going to be really focusing on PSAppDeploy Toolkit and all the fun new features you're going to roll out. Yes. But you know, the title here is, why does application packaging and deployment suck so much? And how can we improve it? I did come up with that title, I should know. So we're really just going to talk a little bit about the challenges we're currently facing in this industry. We've probably all got trauma stories of terrible applications that we've been told to package and deploy. We're going to talk a little bit about that and then really focus on how PSADT can help with that. Click. Okay, so I've already done the agenda. We're going to do some introductions, application packaging, a little bit about who we are, Patch My PC, and then we're going to dive right into PSAppDeploy Toolkit, and then we've got a bunch of demos, because demos are fun. They're better than slides. All right, introductions. So my name is Ben Reeder. Some of you might know me as PowerShell. I'm a software engineer at Patch My PC. I do have to read this because sometimes I'm not sure what I do. I'm a Microsoft MVP of, I think, enterprise mobility. I think it's changing. I think I'm now in security, which is cool. We all love security, right? And this is my beautiful cat, Preston. Excellent. Okay.
And I'm Dan Cunningham. I'm one of the founders of PSADT, and now I work for Patch My PC since they've taken stewardship.
Yes, correct. And
my name is David James. I'm VP Engineering at Patch My PC. I used to, for a long time, run the Configuration Manager product team at Microsoft. If you've heard of me, I go by DJammer on Twitter. And what's that? X. Yeah. That vibrant ecosystem that it is. And I'll just call out something up front because Dan will probably get to it later. But, you know, one of the things, Patch My PC is a big believer and supporter of PSADT. And the question we get more than anything is like, you know, PSADT was free and open source. Are you guys going to start charging for it? Like, no matter how many times we say no, the question comes up all the time. Dan, you're probably going to talk about it a little bit. And it's funny because when I used to go to conferences a lot for Microsoft and talk about Configuration Manager, and I always get the question, is ConfigMan dead? And one day at a conference, I'm like, someone should just go get the domain name, isconfigmandead.com, and just put no there. So someone did. And now it's actually, you can live blog new announcements about ConfigMan there. So we get this question about PSADT so much, we got the domain name ispsadtfree.com. And you can go there with all of our latest updates on our intent to keep it free and open source. And, you know, if you're looking for something to contribute to, it's a great place to kind of practice your PowerShell or do very impressive stuff. We have some really good contributors. And that's why Patch My PC is here. And really, we needed an excuse to keep sending Ben around the world to speak at PowerShell conferences because Patch My PC, we don't really have anything to do. We come here and we're like, well, we make patching really easy. We have like a WinForms app that just, you push it and it works. But that doesn't resonate with this community. They like hard things. They like to type a lot. And so we went and got involved with PSADT so Ben could have an excuse to go around the world and go to PowerShell conferences. So,
very good introduction. It's all true. All right, so application packaging, a brief history of pain. Who here has to package applications as their day job? Who here's ever had to do it? All right, that's almost everyone. So first of all, I feel your pain. We've all done it. It's awful. It never gets better, and it probably never will. This is obviously one of the things we're going to talk about, you know, that PSADT makes it just that little bit better, but I don't think application packaging will ever be fun. It just won't. Probably not. Okay. So what we're going to talk about is just like why this is painful, because surely there's a standard, right? All vendors just use this one thing. They package their applications. You want it to be silent. You just say, be silent, and it just works. Why is that not the case? So we're going to start off with packaging technologies. Again, there should just be one, right? And Microsoft should have written it. It started off with a small company called Nullsoft, who created Winamp, everyone's favorite music player. They came up with this way to deploy their software called NSIS, which is Nullsoft Scriptable Installation System. Yes, which was really cool, but it was their own little proprietary thing, and it still exists in the world, so that's why we need to talk about it. It is kind of cool, and it's like a text file that just like prompts what's going to happen. It's all very easy to read, but it's, you know, not official. So then we come along, Install Shield comes around and starts building their own fun things.
Which was hell.
Yes, it was hell. We then move on to officially supported first-party installation packaging solutions, which is MSI, or Microsoft Installer. Windows Installer, yeah, but it's MSI. Excellent. Cool. Everyone knows what MSIs are. That's kind of still the preferred standard. If you follow the rules, you can make a standardized application that anyone can work with. It's basically just a glorified database of things, so you can interrogate that, figure out what the switches are. It's cool, but like, you know, it's been around for a really long time, and I know there are other technologies. Then
came Install Shield's mashup with MSI, which was just a hot mess. And anyone who's had any experience with Install Shield, yeah, it was a custom action nightmare. Not fun.
Exactly. Install Shield, I've still got scars from thinking about how you have to like break out the scripted path to get the, anyway, it's terrible. We then move on to WireScript. I know of Wires. Whenever I see the little logo on the login or on the installs, I just...
So I will tell you straight off. So WireScript was actually the basis for where PSAppDeploy came from. We use WireScript all the time. And it was really nice and easy. That had a graphical interface for just dropping files around, and there was dialog boxes and things like that. And it made life a hell of a lot easier. But it was basically the company was sold and bought like by about five different times, and ultimately we couldn't rely on it as a supported kind of platform to move forward.
You guys know I develop from that.
So DJM just said it's all his fault. Okay. One of the things that I want to point out here is that a lot of this technology is still in the era that the GUI is supreme. So you can do a lot of automation with MSI installers now, but you know, a lot of the Install Shield and like Wire stuff was really focused on having like a nice user interface that, you know, you could download a thing off the internet, you know, click along, and we all know that clicking can't be automated. It can, but anyway. So we're starting to move into sort of the modern era, I think. I can't remember what comes up next. Yep, AppV. So AppV was created with this idea that why should we install products into the sort of the base of our system? It's really hard to like clean them up, look after those things. So let's start looking at the concept of containerization, which we all know containerization is kind of the future now. This was the first attempt at that. This was created by Microsoft. Wasn't a lot of adoption. It got kind of difficult to work with.
Yeah, I can't remember that many companies that actually went all in on it.
When it was announced, all the vendors were just like, yeah, we're just going to stick with what we've got. And this is the one thing that we really want to sort of push home here, is that we have to deal with all of these different things. The vendor just picks one, but we have to deal with every single vendor. So this is where like we need to know all these things because they all work differently. After AppV, Click Once. Has anyone worked with Click Once before? Yep, it was a way to move files from the internet onto your computer.
Never used it.
Yeah, we had a fun internal application at a previous life that was terrible. We forced them over to MSI. We then move into AppX, which is the more modern thing. This is like, think of Windows Store, heavily built around the concepts of AppV, but
sandboxed, and that meant that you couldn't break out and do anything outside of the current user.
Correct, which in theory, if you're building small apps that are user-focused, cool. If you've got a complex thing, think ODBC connections, complicated database things. It just got really difficult. If you needed to interact with the system, it was hard. So,
and there was no real deployment mechanism for it.
There really wasn't. Yeah, so rough. I think we've got some more. Click to Run. Who's deployed Office 365 before? Yeah. The people that had their hands down Good for you. Click to Run was developed specifically for Office 365, which has always been a real pain to package and deploy. This was supposed to simplify it. It kind of does, but also with the advent of Intune and like this more sort of modern delivery mechanisms, it's become less of a problem. But we have to talk about that one. I think there's another one. Oh, MSIX. Another iteration of this like containerized deployment methodology. This was supposed to come in and save the day and be the standard. But again, vendors have already picked what they want to use. They don't want to have to retool to change how their product that already installs fine just because someone says this is the new standard. So this is where we get into that confusing space. So once we now know all of the terrible implementations, and hopefully the vendors are following the rules and doing it correctly, we've got this package that we can deploy. How do we deploy it? Well, that's where the next bit of pain comes in. So we've got deployment and delivery tooling. We'll quickly go through these. I think everyone knows of the two big ones, Configuration Manager, which has gone through how many different names? SCCM, MEMCM, yeah, exactly. There was one before Config Manager. These are just the industry standards. Intune is coming along and being all cloud native and shiny, but there's still a lot of people that are using both of these things. So you need to know how to use these products before you can even use them to deploy your packages that you've just spent hours working on. I think we've got a couple of other ones. Tanium Deploy, PDQ. There's a lot of third-party implementations that help you with managing environments. We bring them up here. We're not picking on them. We're simply saying there's a lot of different things that exist to help with this process, but you still kind of need to be skilled and knowledgeable about them. And then the real one, which is just a drawer full of USB keys with your software. Yeah, I've literally gone into customer environments and they've had a lanyard with a keyring full of USBs and they go, this is my deployment method. It still exists. Yeah. And also VB scripts on them written by the intern, which, I've done it. Okay. And then finally, the third part of this, and I've kind of touched on this, is that the vendors themselves get these standards that were written by other vendors and then they get to interpret them however they want. So we've got iTunes. Has anyone tried to deploy iTunes? One person. Okay. Bonjour. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not even going to say the names. I'm not even going to say the names. That was a little sassy one. That was a bit of fun. That was because of Chrome, essentially. Chrome came up with their own deployment methodology, and Teams was built on that framework, and it's a nightmare. Yep. Okay, so we know that this is the thing that makes our jobs hard. The reality is, once you know all of these things, an application generally takes between 3 to 5 hours to package every single time there's an update, and that's if it's good. That includes testing, packaging, deploying out to your environments, and then finally deploying to prod. So just understand you've got 3 to 5 hours of updates. There's thousands and thousands of applications, and they're constantly being updated because now the internet makes things really fast to just ship changes. And this is where we come into our problem. That whole process never stops. Wasn't that fun? Okay. So what we really need in this environment is some kind of way to standardize. I don't think we'll probably ever really get to that, but if we can start building out a standardization framework, then that's where we can sort of get into that world of less headaches. Okay, going to go through these really quickly because I know we're on time.
No, you're chewing up more time on me. It's perfect.
No, it's fine. Okay, so again, who is Patch My PC? It says it here. We help you save time, money, and improve IT security by automating third-party patch management in Microsoft Config Manager and Intune. The short of that is we have a catalog of around, Andrew, 1,400 applications, 1,500 applications, I can't keep up, that we know how these products install and that we know how to keep them up to date so that you can opt in to simply select the applications that you want to be looked after in your environment, configure and customize them, and then move them into Config Manager and Intune to be automatically deployed on a schedule so that you never have to think about it again, in theory. There's always going to be problems, but we're pretty confident that our catalog is really, really good and our automation technologies are pretty great as well. Okay, That's who we are. Now I get to hand it over to you.
Now you hand it over to me.
Excellent.
All right. So let's get intimately acquainted with PSADT in 30 minutes or less. And actually, I've got 30 minutes. Good job. Okay. So what is PowerShell, or what is the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit? It is a PowerShell framework for improving the experience of deploying software to Windows endpoints at scale. Is basically the best way that we can sum it up. And it does that through an opinionated workflow for app install, uninstall, and repair. And it's typically used to encapsulate an existing pre-existing vendor install, adding new steps to the install, providing it enhanced capabilities, something like adding new steps to the install, like performing tasks before an install or after install, providing enhanced capabilities like user interaction or automatic logging, and basically just standardizing your application deployments for any given organization.
And fixing vendors' terrible application installs.
Yes. And it's basically this workflow is essentially backed by a collection of PowerShell functions to simplify common deployment tasks. So we have a whole range of functions for doing things like copying files, editing registry keys, registering ODBC connections, that sort of thing. So the sort of features and functions we have is essentially validating prerequisites for minimum software versions, ensuring we can close down applications and prevent them reopening during the install, reopening during the deployment, checking with the user if now is a good time to start the install and allow them to defer it if need be. Maybe checking to see if PowerPoint is open, or as we're working on adding as Teams and maybe other meeting software to make sure that they're not running and we're not going to shut them down. Uninstalling any existing applications and performing any sort of cleanup operations that might be needed before an install. Capturing important settings that might be required for an upgrade. So let's say if you want to capture office settings or something like that, or we'll say templates or things like that.
Yeah.
Running an install silently and capturing log files in the event of an issue, so simplifying deployment troubleshooting. Running post-install configuration tasks that might be required for customizing an application for your environment. And maybe prompting the user to shut down the machine or restart the machine with some sort of countdown timer at the end. So why would what benefits does it essentially give? Well, it reduces the learning curve for learning PowerShell in the first instance. And we do this by having a standardized configurable template for doing deployments. And we added a dozen easy PowerShell functions as well. Things like I said, copy files, write registry, show progress message. And we provide very kind of clear and concise documentation for every function, as well as kind of general guidance on its usage. It's robust and it's very, very well battle tested. So it's been built for stability. When we built this, I was working at a large financial in Ireland I thought large, of around 2,000 machines. Then I moved to a company same company, different country, for 10,000 machines. But by then it was already being used on customers of 50,000 endpoints. Nowadays, I know of a customer that's 800,000 endpoints, and I'm pretty sure there's one that's 1.3 million endpoints, and they use it to drive all their deployments. So it's across every single sector: banking, fintech, financial services, federal government, military and defense, hospitals, healthcare, education, telecommunication, transportation, the whole 9 yards. Everyone is using it. And it's used to drive millions of deployments every single day. So it's grown way beyond the scale that we originally thought it would have. I just wanted to make my job easier.
That's how it always starts.
Yeah. So because of this, it's been very widely adopted by a lot of different deployment teams, and that allows everyone to adhere to kind of, our decided best practices. So it was an opinionated workflow, but it is built on kind of best practices in the industry and what we thought initially at the time. But obviously other people have fed into that over time. But being a kind of a standard workflow that everyone is using means that others can pick up your deployment script and just know what's in there, and they'll just be able to figure it out within a couple of minutes. It makes for much better collaboration. and the easiest supportability as well. If you run into a problem, you can ask a colleague. You can ask a whole variety of different vendors. As well as that, there's a lot of companies that now require it as part of their job spec. So I can think of one defense contractor that they won't hire someone unless they have 3 years PSADT experience. Another is a consultancy, one of the big kind of hardware vendors. They also do consultancy for deployments, and they require at least 5 years experience, which, given that it's been around, actually it's been around 13 years. Yeah, so
It's crazy.
5 years actually would be very feasible. It simplifies your deployment troubleshooting. So all the built-in functions have extensive logging. If you run an MSI, we'll automatically capture that. We'll capture all the logs for that. Hang on, sorry, I lost myself. We log it to the CM trace format, and it just makes troubleshooting easier in general. We integrate with SCCM and Intune. We'll integrate with, I think it's Workspace ONE. We have explicit stuff in there for, but I mean, we play nicely with every other product like BigFix, Avanti, Tanium Deploy, PDQ. We'll just work with anything. The user interface is very customizable and customizable for your individual company. So you can replace the logo, you can replace the banner, you can change all the text strings, and you can do that in every language. So it's, if you've got your own corporate verbiage for applications or software or whatever you want to call it, you can update all that. And most importantly, it's got a very, very extensive community support. So we have Discord channel, we have discourse forums, we have Reddit, and there's a lot of people who've contributed tons of deployment scripts, as well as their own functions and customizations to help everyone out, essentially. So demos seem kind of pointless since most people in here have used this, but I guess we'll step into a couple of demos.
Let's do it.
So,
Demo time.
Demo time, yes. All right. So where am I starting here? So first off, if anyone or if no one has seen, we've updated our website recently. It used to be old and horrible. Now it's new and actually shiny. So we have lots of info there on its features and capabilities. Most importantly, we have our documentation right up front. All the information on how to download and how to get a copy of it, how to run through your first deployment. We have info on how zero config deployment works, how to add UI elements and customize your deployments. There's some examples on how to actually work with, I think this was SCCM. We're due to get an Intune example up there in short order. As well as that, we have all the reference for the exit codes, the variables, and all of the functions that are used in the toolkit as well. So we used to issue a PDF with Toolkit. That's the old. This is the new. So go to the website and get all the nice.
I think that's called the new hotness.
The new hotness. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. So yeah, you can click around here and you'll immediately get all of the functions that we have, all the new things that or all of the. This will be updated as we issue every new release. We'll automatically update the website with new functions. So you've got I think one of the new ones that we added the other day was copy file to user profiles. This is added in 3.10, which is a new release that was issued about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, we've got examples in there, how you use all the parameters, and it's in the nice familiar PowerShell format that people are used to. So definitely please check that site out. And we'll also have news up there as well. So this actually wasn't on March 28th. This was about an hour ago when I put that up, with just all the new info on the new release, as well as the latest webinar that was hosted by Patch My PC. So, right, skipping along. Where was I? So just if no one's ever seen PSADT before, I guess we'll just step through a very basic demo. And the first thing to do is look at a zero config demo. So this is, you don't even need to make any changes to the script. You get your downloaded, these should not be there. Get rid of those. This is what our standard downloaded zip file. Once you extract it, you'll see this structure. You've got a deploy application executable, which is just essentially a launcher for the PowerShell script. You'll have your AppDeploy Toolkit folder, which contains all the logic, and it contains the PowerShell framework itself. You've got a files folder, which is where you put your MSI or your set of executable, and then support files is where you'll drop anything else that you might need for your deployment. For this script, we don't need to do anything. All I've done is just dropped one specific MSI into this folder. And based on that, I can go ahead and I can start this deployment. I'll use the deploy application script or executable to do this. So I'll just go run as administrator. And I actually have this tool already running, so I should get a message to close it down first in a second. My machine's a little slow, but it will work. There we go. All right, so this is this standard message that we'll get. So we've got an executable that's already open, and it's asking us to close it down. We've got 3 deferrals on this, so we can choose to close down this application, or we can defer the install until later on. If you push this out through, say, SCCM or Intune, what's going to happen is someone will get a message up on screen like this. If they click defer, it'll wait for a certain period of time configured through SCCM or through Intune. Actually, Intune is a little bit trickier. It kind of pops up randomly. But for SCCM, it's over, I think, every 4 hours. They'll get a prompt back up, and they can just defer, and they'll get a couple more deferrals based on that. This is set to a number of deferrals, but we can set this as a date, so it can be deferred up until X date, and that allows people to, maybe you've got an upgrade that has to be performed before a certain date. You can allow people to push it off until then. But for this instance, we'll close down the program, and you'll see there on the taskbar, Master Packager just disappeared. It's already installed, so it's not going to actually install anything, but it popped up and just said quickly install in progress, and we should get a balloon tip message there in a sec, just saying installation complete. We might not, just because of the nature of this one at the moment. But while we're on the topic, I just want to pop open and show you Master Wrapper. This is a tool from the guys at Master Packager, and it's basically, if you don't know how to write PowerShell, this will actually do a hell of a lot of the work for you. So you can just click here and go, we'll say new deployment. It goes and it pulls all of the PSADT files. We can say load an MSI, and we'll jump back here to grab our access merge. And you'll see here it's gone and populated the version numbers. It populated all of the details related to this. I can change the branding if I want. If I jump into each of the sections, I can add new things into the installed section, or uninstall, or the repair. I can set up what the installation is going to look like. So, for instance, I have the ability to add the executables to this, add new executables to the running process config. You'll see it's already populated merge in here. I can also do things like set up block execution. So if we want to prevent someone from installing an app or running an application while we're doing an install, which is really useful for Office. If you want to close down Word, Excel, PowerPoint, do your Office upgrade and stop people from actually trying to open those during the upgrade. That's very useful for doing that. You can allow deferrals and set up your any sort of post or pre-execution actions. This is a kind of like a demo version, or sorry, a freeware version, but they do have a pro feature for their Master Packager suite. And then you could go in and just edit directly in here. But they have like a ton of stuff already built in here. And if I just click on save on this, I could just jump over into my Master Packager folder, and you'll see it's gone and populated a deploy application script for me. And within here, it's gone and populated the Araxis merge section, or the application details, and it's put into the relevant pre-install section, the show installation welcome with close apps and close apps countdown. This is basically just built a lot of the legwork that I might have had to do by hand. It's just done. So this is kind of like a step beyond the zero config mechanism that we already have. And this allows you to do a lot more customization. So it's a really, really cool tool that they've come up with. In terms of, I just wanted to jump back actually. So I did that install of Master Packager. I said that it gives us a lot of benefits right out the gate. I mean, we got a deferral prompt, but if I jump into the Windows folder, into the logs and software, you'll see I have a Master Packager log file, and this is basically I don't have CM trace running here. Give me one sec. Toolkit, tools, CM trace. So if I jump back and open this again, so we have like the CM trace formatted logs, and that's we didn't have to do anything for that. We literally just dropped an MSI into a folder. We ran the deployment. We got our dialogues for free. We got the ability to close down the process for free. We get the logging all for free. And we've done nothing. There's no configuration required whatsoever. And you can see all of the things that it's actually gone through here. So it's, for instance, we detected that PowerPoint was running, but it didn't have a window title that belonged to PowerPoint. So it knew that I wasn't in a slideshow, and it allowed the installation to kind of proceed. If I was in a slideshow, it would have prevented itself from running, and that's something that would have been useful. We didn't want to interrupt an end user actually perform or with an install while they were actually presenting on screen. All right. Yep.
On that note, this may be very specific, but if the user has deferred an update to their application that would require PowerPoint to shut down, will it override the PowerPoint presentation, or?
No, it will just basically silently close out. It'll exit gracefully. So it returns back an exit code to SCCM that just says retry later. So it'll retry after like 4 hours, but it doesn't interrupt the PowerPoint. And my good friend down here, Kevin, has been working on some code to get that same thing working in Teams. So we'll be probably adding that in very, very soon. So if you're presenting in a Teams meeting, or we can also do some additional checks with the. I'm looking into this, but with the Teams API, we can probably check to see if you're on camera or if you're speaking, anything like that, and take action based on one of those things. So if you're presenting, yeah, we definitely don't want to interrupt. Maybe if you're in a meeting, however, we can probably update certain types of applications, but we don't necessarily want to ruin Teams on you or ruin your experience. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we can add on to a common kind of like install. This is basically stuff that just SCCM and Intune don't have right now at all. So there's a lot of benefits. So where was I going next? So jumping back to our installs, I actually covered more than I thought I would there. I was going to jump into just, the other types of installs, like let's say a non-MSI, what that looks like in script. So VLC, for instance, what the script layout is essentially, we have our variable declaration start where we populate the vendor name, the product name, version, architecture, things like that. And then we come down to our install section. So we have pre-install, install, and then post-install. And then for our uninstall, we have the same thing again, pre-uninstall, uninstall, and post-uninstall, and the same for repair. So we can drive those 3 different types of installs or deployment actions with the one kind of deployment package. And we can define how they operate here. So like, for instance, here we'll run the VLC install with the following parameters, which is essentially saying run it silently. We'd also want to remove the shortcut off the desktop, and then using that new copy files to user profiles function, we might want to populate the details, or sorry, the configuration for VLC, so the settings into each user profile. So by default, it installs a kind of a current user app, and the settings are basically, it'll pop up with I think it comes up with a first dialogue, and then you have to like click a checkbox to make sure that doesn't come up anymore. We can kind of like preset that, and then essentially copy that over to each user profile. So anyone new who logs in won't have those, won't hit that same prompt. And for uninstall, we essentially want to just close down, make sure that VLC is closed, and then we'll run the uninstall process, which is just the same. It's a uninstall.exe and /s. And essentially, yeah, that just makes life nice and easy. We can do the whole lot from one installation. And then in terms of a repair, we can set up again, we'll do an uninstall beforehand. We'll run the install a second time, remove the shortcut, and then copy files into folders. So that kind of covers an awful lot of what I wanted to show in terms of demos, because I know a lot of this stuff isn't new to anyone. I guess people are more interested in what is new, or
what's in V4.
I knew I was going to get that. All right. So,
So are you going to move directly to 4, or are you going to go to 11? What's your plan? This is the final version.
So we have essentially put V3 into maintenance mode. We don't want to do any more updates to it, which is also not true because we're going to be doing another update for 3.10.1, I think. We're looking to probably release that in the next week or two. And that's just because we added a whole bunch of new features and invariably we added a few bugs. So we want to get those kind of covered off. V4, however, is kind of a bigger deal. And it's been something that we've had in the works for quite some time. I'm looking for where did I do my slide deck? Which one is it? This one. So, come on. So effectively, screen? Nope. There we go. All right. So V4, we're completely gutting the code base. We're also going to be supporting PowerShell 5.1 and PowerShell 7.4 is the plan. We're going to have a minimum requirement of .NET 8 plus the latest support of Microsoft OS, which currently is Windows 10, 22H2, and Server 2016. The reason that we're doing that is effectively there's a whole bunch of security reasons we want to do it. There's also, we need to drop old supported OS versions. We've been supporting XP for the longest time. We've supported PowerShell v2. Oh my God, will they go away? There is so much old hacky code in there to just keep supporting those. And it's all to support a handful of banks or customers who just really won't upgrade their machines. And, enough is enough. We kind of have to move on from there. So this is effectively what we've decided as our minimum baseline. And I think it sets us on a good path for the future. So we can remove a lot of old hacky code. We can start using new things when I say new things like get sim object, that's not new. That was in PowerShell 3, but we've not been able to use it. We've had to stick with get WMI object for this whole time. So yeah, there's a lot of really good reasons for why we have to start moving forward. The other thing is, and everyone has wanted us to create a module for ages. We didn't want to. We had our reasons for it. A lot of those being down to supported version. So if you install a module on a machine, you have no guarantee that you're going to be able to get that version upgraded at any point in time. I mean, I've seen so many module upgrades fail, especially if you have a DLL in the mix. If there's a DLL baked in as part of that, and especially by the nature of PSADT, people tend to. Well, there is a module up in the gallery that we don't condone, and one of the reasons is people then go into their profile and they immediately do import module, and that means that module cannot be upgraded. So the second you import it into your user profile, we're kind of screwed. So this has a big ramification for deployments, because if you're stuck at an old module version and you tested all your new stuff against a newer module version, what happens when half your deployments fail? Are we responsible or are you? I mean, so we don't want to get into that whole situation, but we do have to move to a module because it's the new hotness. It's not
we
even
love that
hotness,
term.
But
it's just the hotness.
It's just the hotness.
Old hotness.
The old hotness. So what we're going to do is we're going to probably put it up on the PowerShell gallery, but we're going to ask people to keep it with the deployment. So if you're packaging an application, put it into the subfolder, we'll import it from that location. Then we don't get into the whole mess of version help. But I know there is some people who just want to use an installed module. God knows why. I really can't. I can't. But look, if you want to do it, then fine. I would rather us have a supported module version up there rather than something that's been hacked together as the current one is a little bit. And we found bugs in that we're then being asked to support. And so anyway, module, but please keep it with with your deployment, and that allows you to have consistency between the version that you test and then deploy out to your end users. So the other big thing is, I know module would generally mean huge amounts of change because you're going to have to import the module as part of your deployment script, and then we're going to have to worry about module scope and variables being passed between them and global variables. We don't want that whole thing. So actually, we're trying to work around that as best we can. We're aiming to have full backwards compatibility with V3 scripts, so you won't have to actually import the module at all. You'll keep your script the same. You when you dot source the app-deploy toolkit main, we're going to actually import the module, and we'll use that app-deploy toolkit main, the new one, as a shim. So it'll basically act as a translation layer between the existing script format and then all of the new hotness. And that will be kind of that's sort of the intent as of right now. We're kind of planning this out, and so far we haven't hit any major technical problems with that. I'm hoping we don't. I think it actually will work. And one of the big reasons for this is, Patch My PC's investment here is we want to be able to support custom apps for customers who have PSADT based deployments, and then import them into Patch My PC's cloud solution.
Yep.
In order to do that, they need to have a supported version, and so getting up to the latest versions of everything means getting up to the latest versions of PowerShell 5.1 within the supported Microsoft product lifecycle. Then that's kind of where we want to be. So the idea is we have no breaking changes in V4. In V5, however, we're going to break everything. But that's essentially we'll be providing a lot of deprecation and a lot of notice on that one. So the other thing I suppose obviously as well is our big worry point was around verb noun name conventions. Right now, I made some bad decisions in the past. And those bad decisions are going to live with me for a little bit longer, because we're going to rename things as they should be named accordingly. However, we'll put in aliases for the old naming conventions. We will hopefully not change any parameters for the moment. V5, we will change all that, and we will break everything. So that buys people a little bit more time. It gets us up to a supported platform that Patch My PC can support customers on. And it will hopefully then get people familiar with the new format, essentially.
So you're saying your package is the key module in your package with V4 continue to work because you packaged them already. When they start building new packages in V5, those ones.
So essentially, if you choose to upgrade your V3 packages with V4, but yeah. Can you repeat the question? Oh, sorry. I'm can you phrase it again one more time?
Basically, if you're using V4 now, or using V4, and because you're going to keep it inside the package, when it's time to go to V5, it's your net new stuff. You got to deal with breaking changes because you're just the package is going to install.
Okay,
Will there be breaking changes from V4 to V5? Yeah? Ish.
Okay. So for V3 to V4, so right now, if your package is working, you can keep using it. You don't technically need to upgrade it at all. If you decide you want to take advantage of some new functionality in V4, you can take a V3 script and you will be able to just replace the app-deploy toolkit main folder. Your existing script should still work, and that's essentially what we're saying is we're trying to make life easier. If you want to upgrade to V4, or if you're a Patch My PC customer and you want to be on a supported version, you'll be able to take your existing script, throw in the new V4 stuff, and nothing should really break there. Everything you shouldn't need to upgrade your V3 script. It should just still work. When it comes to V5, we'll probably have to have some sort of migration tool for that. That's going to migrate an existing script, or you're probably just going to rewrite, or you'll probably decide, okay, well, that's all the old stuff. We're not going to bother upgrading that. It works. Why bother touching it? We'll just start building for V5 going forward.
All right.
Does that make sense?
We have to do a giveaway. We can continue asking questions, but can you go to the browser, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Before we do that, I'm going to try and chant something.
Okay. We have less than a minute.
We don't. We have more than a minute.
You guys will stick around, right?
So in case anyone, because I mean, everyone likes visuals a little bit. So V4.
It's not sharing.
Oh, is it not? Damn. Hang on. Come on, go away. Go away. Okay, I cannot get rid of this damn thing. Hang on. And slideshow.
Okay, it's there.
Okay, so this is good. All right, so this is kind of what we're looking at for V4, the UI differences between the two. Conceptually, they look kind of quite different. They're actually not all that different at all. If you just look at them, you'll see the functionality is all entirely the same. Oh, that's a bug I hadn't worried about. I haven't figured it out yet. So essentially, yeah, you'll still have the information presented the same way, presented in a different way, but it is actually the same information. You have like the ability to continue or defer. You have the ability to close applications. It's just presented in a nice new, don't think it's ever been done before, Windows 11 Fluent interface style. And more importantly, the hotness. It works in
Dark mode. We
dark
love
mode.
it.
Not only that, but I don't know if it's coming across there, but it's actually a Mica window. So you can actually see the blue effect bleeding through from the desktop. I don't know of anyone who's actually managed to pull this off so far.
That's awesome.
I got some, I've been working on this for months with one of the guys from Master Packager, Norris, and yes, thank you, Norris, for all your help with this. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with V4 right now in terms of look and feel. We want to have it like nice, new, fresh, and yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
So back to our giveaway.
Yes. Go to the browser window.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. When is V4 being released?
No
good
comment.
All right.
All right. Really quick giveaway. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get in. Go to swagit.io. Put in the code in the middle. We'll wait a couple of minutes, and then we'll see what happens.
Can I win?
Sure.
Just answer that question on V4. So we were aiming to have a preview release for MMS, which is in a month, which is probably a little bit ambitious. But I think our drop dead date for that is something like June 1st. And then we're aiming to have a full release by end of September, hopefully. So we're trying to commit to actually getting that released. And we've got a lot of people working on it. Well, 5. So.
Okay, we got 16 entrants, 17. Andrew. If Andrew wins, he'll figure out what he's going to do with that.
I'm going to enter myself.
Yeah, go for it. A couple more minutes. I know this is the last session, so we could just hang out forever.
So the question was, does this work with Nullsoft, the NSIS format? Yes. If it's an executable that takes a command line parameter to run silently, or even actually we can automate that as well. So if it comes up with the UI, we can just auto hotkey it like almost. So yeah, anything we throw at it, you get benefits if it's an MSI or an MSIX in that you get automatic logging, and so it'll. But I mean, if you can output the log to from NSYS, then yeah, we'll be able to capture that as well.
And uninstall works the same too.
Yep.
All right. Before we do the question, we're going to do a quick draw. No one new has come in for a couple of minutes. So everyone, do a drum roll. Come on, let's get some energy. All right. Drum roll time. Great drum roll. Yeah, just keep it going. Keep time. Come on.
Here we go.
Oh, it's going faster. Jasmine Swint, can you come up and congratulations.